Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing good. So in the last video we have covered on what is PMP and what are the benefits of doing this certification PMP. And in this video we'll be covering the chapter 1 of the Project Management Institute's book PMBOK, and the chapter 1 is Introduction to Project Management. So let's get started. So the first thing that we need to know is project. What is a project? So project can be termed as an activity which has a beginning and has an end, right? So we should not confuse project with operations. If you are going to office every day, responding to clients, doing your daily work every day, that is not project. That's operations. So project, as we told, has a beginning and an end. So let's say construction of a home, construction of a building can be termed as a project. It had a beginning and an end. Now everyday maintenance of that building, water supply and all the works that is happening in the building, all the activities, those are not projects. Those are the routine operations. So now we have understood on what is a project. Now let's understand few terminologies so that it becomes easy for us to learn project management. So the first thing that we learned is what is a project. So we got to know that it's something temporary which has a beginning and an end. The second thing that we need to learn is what is a program. So when there is a group of related projects, let's say in a company, that can be termed as a program. And then portfolio is a mix, or it's a sum of multiple projects and multiple programs in an organization. Now we will look at what are the different project management processes that has to be followed from the beginning to the end for any project to be completed. The first stage or the first process is initiating. This then comes planning, and then we execute the project. After execution, the fourth stage is monitoring and controlling, and the last stage is closing. So now we had a look at from the beginning to the end. Now this can also be termed as project life cycle. So it goes as a round, and when there is another project, again it starts from initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling to closing. So let's take an example so that this gets to be very easy for us to understand. Now many of you might have a doubt that when we start a project, why don't we start from planning? So let's take an example. Let's say that a person is looking forward to get married, right? And but there he cannot start planning all of a sudden. He can't plan that, okay, marriage will be on this day, it will be in this hall, it will be, we have to pay this much for the catering and so on. That cannot be done. He has to initiate it. He has to approach the girl or the girl's father and tell them that I'm looking forward to get married to your daughter. Are you okay with that? Once there is an initial approval, once they're okay with it, once they're happy that they want their daughter to get married to you, that is when you go and you plan. Otherwise, if you just plan on the wedding hall, the catering service, all of this, pay everything, and then they would be like, no, let's not proceed with this marriage, you go into a big loss, and then you get to know that yes, I had to learn project management before approaching a girl. Alright guys, but let's talk about business. So let's say that you want to have a new branch of your company at some city, right? If you start from planning, then, and if the management later on does not agree on this project, then you lose time. What you lose is the time that you spent researching, the money that you spent when you give it to a contractor to get you data about that area and so on. So the first thing that you need to do is to initiate it, which means that you need to have a project charter. So it can be a document which has the high level details only about the business case, about what is the approach and what will be the result of this project. Usually this document, project charter, has to be signed by the sponsor or the employer, right? So if it's a project within an organization, maybe the CEO can sign this document, this project charter, telling that yes, you have my initial approval to do this, to set up a branch of our company in that state or in that city. So then that is the initial approval. Once you have the initial approval, then it's good to go to the second stage, that is planning. In planning, main components will be that what is the scope, like it's a branch opening, so that is the scope. How much of time will this take? So you need to meet with all the stakeholders from different departments, take all the calculations in place, and you need to know how much time, so that is schedule management. And then you need to know that in this project how much of cost is involved. So these are the main things in planning. We will go into detail of this in our many upcoming next videos. So for now it's like this. So it's initiating and then it's planning. After planning, the third step, the third process group is executing. Means you need to start doing that. So let's talk about that marriage example. So you proposed the girl to her to her parents. They agreed, and then you guys did a planning that okay, it will be in this country at this time, and everything is planned and set. And then it's the executing part wherein things are actually happening on that day. So if we speak about business, executing means you started the work, the vendor has been assigned, or you started constructing a building in that city where you wanted to have the branch. So now it has started, that is the project has been executed. The fourth step is monitoring and controlling. In this, you have to note that everything is going as per the plan, as per the budget, and the completion will be as per what we had decided during the planning stage. And if there is any deviation from what has been planned, we have to take necessary actions so that there won't be any delays or any loss in the project. And once we note that everything is being monitored and controlled in a very good way, and then we it comes to a closure. So that's the fifth process group in project management. So if I want to again relate to the simple example of that wedding, closing might be that you say thank you to all the guests and you take the girl to your home, right? So in projects, yes, closing means you need to inform your sponsor, your employer, that the branch is ready. The opening, we can go for the opening. Everything is set up, everything is done as per the plan, and the project has been delivered. They will then go and do the opening of the branch, and then the operations will start. Customers will come in, they will serve the customers, all that to the end. So this was the 5 process groups in project management. If we look at exam outline, then the initial percentage is something like that. Initiating will have 13% of the questions, planning will have 24%, executing will have 31%, monitoring and controlling will have 25%, and closing will have 7%. So the domains such as planning and executing, monitoring and closing, these have very high marks. I think around maybe 60-70% of the total questions will be from these domains. So it's very important for us to know this and go through each process so that we know what to do at different stages in the projects that we handle. Alright guys, now let's look at different knowledge areas for most of the projects. So most of the projects will have 10 knowledge areas. The first knowledge area is project integration management. So integration management means that we identify, define, combine, unify and coordinate various processes in a project management. So integration will be used in initiating process group, in planning process group, in executing, monitoring and controlling, and in closing. The second knowledge area is project scope management. Scope management is very important for us to understand that we have a project. So what is the scope? What are we actually expecting to do? We should not do something that we were not asked to do, and we should not do something below than what was expected. So planning, this project scope management will have its role in planning group and in monitoring and controlling. The third knowledge area is project schedule management, or we can also in simple words call it as time management. Time management will come in planning group and the monitoring and controlling, so that we know how much of time a project can take, and in controlling we need to see that everything is done within the planned time. The fourth knowledge area is project cost management. In this, we need to know, we need to plan how much of cost, how much of money is required to do this project. To know that, we need to work on different estimates, and once we have the estimated cost, we need to budget it, and then it will be required in the controlling group. So we need to see that we don't spend extra money than what was planned on any project. And the next knowledge area is quality management. If we this comes into planning, managing, and even in controlling, because if you mess up with the quality in the food, or let's say in the airline industry, if the aircraft has got some problem with the quality of the glass of the aeroplane, let's say, or in a restaurant with the quality of the food, then that can cause big problems, right? There can be food poisoning, the aircraft might not function well, there can be many issues which can take people's life. Therefore quality is very important. So we have to plan the quality, manage quality, and once we are working on the project, we need to control quality. The next knowledge area is project resource management. Now this knowledge area is required in planning, that what resources we require, what is the estimate activity for the resources. Once we execute it, we again require this to acquire team, manage team, develop team, and then to control the resources. Here the resources does not mean just human resources, not just people, but what machinery you need, what devices you need, right? So it's both human resource and the physical resources. And now the next knowledge area is project communications management. This will be required in the planning stage, in the managing stage, and in the controlling stage, so that every stakeholder, every other person has a knowledge of what is happening in his project. He should not be like uninformed, he does not have a knowledge of where the project is going. So there has to be clear communication between all the stakeholders of a project. The next knowledge area is project risk management. Definitely it comes under planning group. So we have to plan the risk, identify risk, perform qualitative risk analysis, perform quantitative risk analysis, plan risk response. Means when we face a risk, what action should we take? Again, this will be required in the executing stage and as well in the monitoring and controlling stage, for us to monitor and control the risks. The next knowledge area is project procurement management. Now this will be required in the planning group, in the executing group, and in the monitoring and controlling group. In simple words, procurement means we need to plan what we need to purchase. Is it raw materials? Is it something related to this that we need to have to complete our project? Once we execute it, we need to conduct the procurements, right? We need to purchase this and that, whatever is required for the project. And during the monitoring and controlling, we need to control procurements, right? We shouldn't have extra of what we require to work on the project, and we need to ensure that payments are happening to the vendors and so on. So that comes under procurement management. And the last knowledge area is project stakeholder management. This comes in the initiating process group, wherein we need to identify who are our stakeholders, right? It should not be that you pick up any person and put him into the project. So they have to have some part in the project, and you need to identify them. You need to identify the stakeholders. And then in the planning group, we need to plan the stakeholder engagement. In the executing processing group, we need to manage them, the stakeholder management, keep everyone informed, the ones who have interest in this project, the ones who have role, the ones who have influence on this project. We need to keep them informed and that is how these are the knowledge areas on almost all the projects, right? So we have covered what are the different process groups, that's initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing, and the 10 different knowledge areas that will be required in these 5 different process groups. This is the overview of project management, that we have to now in detail learn about different knowledge areas to then go and give our exam for PMP.